first item on the agenda is the mandatory budget public hearing. As in with all public hearings or public comment sessions, Board Policy number 1230, citizen participation. In this case, there's not a time limit, but the general rules apply. The maximum time allowed for any one speaker is 3 minutes. Public comments at the beginning of the meeting are, at this time, will be limited to the budget. After that, we will have the usual public comment session to talk about other items on the agenda. This first one's just on the budget. Persons who wish to participate in this hearing must state their name and the budget item on which they wish to speak. As speakers must limit comments to issues appropriate for public discussion, compliments or complaints about student discipline, specific student issues, or personnel must not be addressed. Interruption of board discussion is not permitted. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, outbursts from the audience, applause, or other types of disturbances or disruptions are not permitted. Under no circumstances will booing be tolerated. Okay? Okay. Would someone like to speak? Oh, yes. Oh, we're going to start. Mr. Carrione, our superintendent, will start by giving you a little overview of the budget. That way, everyone will be on the same page when we discuss it. Thank you.
Just so that, good evening, everyone. Just so that everyone's aware, we've been going to the schools. We have been going to the schools to provide presentations of the ballot. In addition to that, we have scheduled throughout the community presentations for the ballot. And we also are attending as many school building events to provide our community with information regarding our ballot. That is what we have been doing differently this school year than we have done in the past, which is really trying to be present so that we can inform our public, our community, of the 5 propositions that the taxpayers will be voting for on May 17th. What I'd like to do quickly, and along with me, Kristen Crandall, I'd like to show you the breakdown of what $221,199,261 represents. There's no reason to continue to provide the presentations that we have seen throughout since November that we started having the conversations regarding our budget. But we sat down and we kind of really thought about what does $221 million plus means. And in this pie chart, you can see clearly that 67.92% is our tax levy, which is the greater part of where this money, if the taxpayer approve this budget, will be coming from. I'd like to also direct your attention to where you see 23.51% of state aid. And what we did, just so that you're aware of it, it's really closer to 25%, because we wanted to show, and we wanted to show you that when we, I think everyone can hear me. No, oh, I have to do this. My secretary just said I must do this. What I'd like to show and indicate is that when we first started having some of the more formal conversations, we still didn't hear from the state about the gap elimination adjustment restoration. So we wanted to keep it separate to show you that at one point we were having a conversation that did not include this 1.11% of the restoration of the gap elimination adjustment. So when you put these two together, what we're really looking at is, in our spreadsheet, we're looking at close to 25% in state aid. In addition to that, we have 1.7% of fund balance, as you can see here, 1.61% other revenue, 1.37 tax levy increase, and 2.78% global foundries. I'd like to draw your attention to these two numbers because when we're talking about the budget, we're talking about $221 million plus for this 2016-17 school year. So when you look at the numbers that you've seen of the 1.94% and the 4.19% in terms of global foundries and in terms of the tax levy increase at 1.94%, that's speaking to this 67.92%, which is about close to $160 million of the budget. That's why in tax levy talk, when we're talking levy to levy, we're talking about that 6.13% that 4.19% Global Foundries is responsible for, and 1.94% our community is responsible for. And but this is the actual money that we're talking in total, and that's why these percentages are different. And we're looking at it from what it means out of the whole pot of money of $221 million plus. In addition to that, if we can go to the next pages, sharing information with the community, which I spoke to you previously about. Monday, we started from Monday, April 25th. We have...
These are the upcoming ones.
And these are, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
We are. So Tuesday, May 3rd, we met, that was today.
John Jay has a table this evening at their event.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm feeling a bit under the weather. Wednesday, May 4th, we have a budget and ballot information table at Boise Ketchum High School. On Thursday, May 5th, we have a budget and ballot information table at John Jay High School once again, budget and ballot information table at Oak Grove. Friday, May 6th, we have the same for Van Wyck Junior High School. May 9th, we also have a budget and ballot community presentation at Oak Grove Elementary School, and it's always a nice presentation when we go there because they are a good host where the community actually does provide food for everyone, so we can always use more people to come. And Tuesday, May 10th, we're looking at Brinkerhoff and Royce Ketchum once again. And May 11th, Royce Ketchum High School and John Jay High School. And on Thursday, also Fishkill Elementary School and Royce Ketchum High School. And once again, our annual festival, Arts in the Park, which is Festival of the Arts, which is a spectacular event. We will be there and we will continue to provide information to our public. And this is us, the administration, really being out there and visible and trying to inform the community and answer any questions that they may have. We also make it very clear that we have a website where they're able to ask questions, and within 48 hours time, we do respond to those questions as well. So if I can just show you, are we online right now? If we can. We'll get to this. Yeah, right to the website. Oh, we got Miss Randall's password.
It's not on our favorite stuff.
Information on the 2016-17 school budget. If you go right to the website, it's probably one of the first things you'll see is the spring budget newsletter. And we're basically on schedule as we have been in previous years. We have a certain date, which I believe is May 11th, that the community has to receive it by the UPS, American Service. Then we also have the 2016-17 adopted budget where you can click on. We have the ballot presentation where you can click on as well. We have, and that's basically what we're doing when we go from school to school, as well as we have community evening events. And we also have the ballot proposition videos. If you click onto this line as well, what you will see is that for each ballot, you can click on the puzzle and you will get information as well. You get information based on Q&As, presentation pages, or actual videos that will provide you with the information necessary. So the entire website, basically, it's extremely comprehensive, provides you with all of the information, to where click for information on how to register, where to vote, and absentee ballots, and even confirm you are registered to vote here. So you can actually check for yourself to find out if you are truly registered to vote on May 17, 2016. So as we continue to move and evolve as an administrative team and as a school district, you can basically look at the data, information from last year and how we are conducting our business this year in terms of the ballot. I wanted to share that information with everyone, and thank you for allowing me to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Carrion. This is now an opportunity for public input on the budget, so please, if you come forward, please state your name and which aspects of the budget you wish to speak about. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mary Harlan. I'm very curious about the cost of, what the cost impact has been since the inception of Common Core. That's what I really, really would like to know. Technology is up, way up. I know that it has had to have an incredible amount of impact on the district. And I would love to see what the comparison would be if we didn't have Common Core in place. That's what I would really like to see. There's a lot of it buried, an awful lot, but I would really, really like to see that. Thank you.
Next. Anyone? This is your opportunity. All right. If no one else wishes to speak on the budget, could we have a motion to close the public hearing and resume the workshop voting?
We have to read the resolution.
Yes, please read. Yes, read. Oh, I'm sorry, we're sharing.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby close the mandatory budget hearing and resume the board workshop voting meeting.
Thank you. Could we have a motion? Mrs. Karas, second. Mr. Soma, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right, now we have public comment on agenda items, and the same rules apply as I read a couple of minutes ago. The Board of Education recognizes its responsibility to hear and respond to public comments. As stated in Board Policy 1230, the Board is not able to answer questions at the meetings, but welcomes your statements. Any questions from the public should be submitted through the use of the public comment form, which may be obtained online or at the desk of the district clerk. Responses will be provided within 48 hours on the district's public comment responses page so that everyone may receive the information. Right? Anyone who wishes to speak?
I can't tell you, I don't like spending my weekends reading over policies. I did email the board already about my concerns, and I got a response that referred me to a link for NSBA. I didn't ask for that. I know about NSBA. I asked for a response from my board, not a link. For the life of me, I don't understand how this board voted on removing existing policy without discussion on new policy. Who does that? It's obscene to me. It's just obscene. The new policies that are in place, I don't know where the origin lied. I don't know what the thought concept was, but it violates so many rights in so many different ways that I really think you're going to be opening up yourselves to an awful lot of trouble. I mean, there's religious rights, there's a bunch of violation in there if you take this on. And to not have that discussion before expiring the old ones by vote, I just don't understand it. I just don't. You know, even with bullying in school, you got a big problem right there right now. I can promise you that. And if the board doesn't want to answer questions, whether they're one-on-one, that's fine. But you might have to expect meeting attorneys somewhere along the line. That's what's going to come of it. So I hope there is discussion. I really hope there was thought as to where these policies were written, how they were written, why they were written. It seemed very boilerplate to me. So I just hope there's more thought put into it before you actually vote them in. Thank you.
Anyone else? 4.02, communications announcements received by the Board of Education. Mr. Lumia?
I'm going to refer to Mr. because we attend a lot of things together, so for a change, I'm going to give Mr. Rubin the floor.
Mr. Rubin.
Thank you, Mr. Lumia. I had the privilege, it was a wonderful experience of attending the Kinley Road haphazardly ever after. The kids were fabulous. It was a long play, and it was nice to see that these kids can actually do that and do it well. Had the opportunity, and it was a privilege to attend at Wappingers Junior High School. There was a Holocaust survivor assembly in which the Holocaust survivor and one of the camp liberators spoke. To me, it was personally very touching. I was at RCK this week for several events, the senior prom, always a great thing, and this year I think they did themselves. I was at the Italian Honor Society induction. Kudos to those kids who made it. RCK also had a small party to honor the valedictorian and salutatorian of their classes. We were there. That was very nice to see that. I attended the PTA council meeting at Gayhead, and that was a very interesting, it was a budget presentation at that. Wappingers, Van Wyck Junior High School, they had a senior luncheon. I think that they put out, it was a great display for the seniors there. At John Jay Junior High School, at John Jay High School, attended the Exemplary Character and Citizenship Awards. Kudos to those children. I think there were probably, Dr. Bonk, over 300, I think, were given awards there. There was a budget presentation there that I thought was well attended. I thought it was well attended, and it was a very good presentation, sir. I visited John Jay as part of an Adopt a School visit. That's pretty much for me.
Let me just add one thing to that, Mr. Rubin. I'd like to thank all the vendors who provided the food for the senior prom.
Oh.
I mean, the food was exceptional. And I don't want to tell you what it was, but it was, I tell you, steak, salmon, chicken wings. It was really, really well done, and I'd like to thank all the vendors. In fact, you can invite me anytime you want when it deals with food. But anyway, I'd like to thank all those involved in the senior prom, in particular, Mr. Giacomotti was in charge of the event. So I'd like to thank him.
And the students who did the baking of the desserts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, I'd like to mention he said he went to the presentation of the valedictorian and salutatorian at Royce Ketchum High School. The difference between first place and second place, quote unquote, was .22, I think it was. It was maybe less.
It was less.
Maybe less than .22. So it was those kids are incredible. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I could go on, but that's good enough.
Mrs. Carrad? Mrs. Pelt?
I actually just wanted to take a moment to compliment the Fishkill Elementary School PTA on their creativity and fundraising. I was there on an Adopt a School visit just before they were going to allow the second graders to receive their prize. They had penny wars that raised over $700. the prize was duct taping the principal to the wall. So the second graders must not like the principal, I don't know, or just thought that'd be really fun. But it would be great to see some pictures from that event on the WCSD Rewind.
Mrs. Carrara?
The only thing I have to add is that there's a Dutchess County School Boards Association meeting Thursday night at 7, and it's open to all board members. They're encouraging us to all attend, so just want to make that known.
Mrs. Laval? Mr. Selma? Dr. Risby?
Yeah, I'm trying it. This is different, I think.
No.
Can she just borrow your mic while I'm figuring this out? I'll figure it out. You got it? You can figure it out.
Good evening, everyone. I attended the John J. Staff Appreciation Day, and the PTSA hosted it. Thanks to President PTSA Priscilla and other parents doing a great job organizing breakfast and lunch for all the teachers and staff. As a parent, I'm very thankful to Mrs. King and her administrative staff and all teachers for their dedication, commitment, and commendable work. I would like to congratulate also the student who won the awards at the Dutchess Science Fair. I was a judge at the 57th annual Dutchess County Science Fair held last month at Dutchess Community College. And this science fair is very competitive. 224 students, 5th through 12th grade, first placement winners in the school district participated. I'm surprised there was no mention of this science fair in the board meeting because this fair was at a higher level than the district one. I would like to congratulate all the students who participated in this science fair, and they put a lot of hard effort and creative thinking into this. Congratulations to the parents and teachers for their encouragement and support. Special congratulations to Van Wyck Junior High School for getting all first 3 placement award. Dr. Shuket and his staff is doing a great job. And special thanks to Science Coordinator Todd Mensch and his staff for putting so much hard work and dedication. I would also like to mention one genius student, and his name came in Poughkeepsie Journal, and I will just read about the student, the science fair comments. Sanjay Natison, a 7th grade at Wappinger Van Wyck Junior High School, wanted to know if he could write a program to crack and test the strength of a computer password. He also wanted to write the program as an app so it could be shared with others and widely used. He succeeded at his first 2 goals, but was not able to make this program an app. I was able to move it from a computer into a tablet, but was not able to make it its own app. And this is a genius student, and he's from Van Wyck, and all the first 3 placement for 7th grader is a Van Wyck student. So congratulations also, Dr. Shuket, for your effort. Do I have a few minutes to talk about opioid addiction? Okay. I would like to share recent updates on opioid addiction and overdose. The steady rise of opioid abuse and overdose is nationwide public health crisis. Deaths linked to opioids are skyrocketing. 2 million Americans were dependent on prescription opioid in 2014. Overdoses linked to opioid killed more than 28,000 people nationwide 2 years ago, according to CDC, which is Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Overdose deaths from opioid drugs that include heroin as well as prescription drugs like oxycodone and hydrocodone continue to be the leading cause of unintentional death for Americans, rising 14% from 2013 to 2014. Many heroin users first became addicted to prescription pills. The heroin is a cheaper alternative, but 1/10 the price when they can no longer get pills. Opioid prescription drugs are the most common type of gateway drug for illicit drug addicts. To prevent drugs from homes in the community from becoming gateway drugs to illicit drugs, Worcester created initiatives that led to the collection of unwanted prescription drugs. According to their directive, don't throw it in the trash can, don't flush it down the toilet, drop it off at the police station, open 24 hours, 7 days a week, no question asked. Over the past month, federal agencies have been aggressive in implementing new strategies to help fight the epidemic. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention issued new opioid prescription guidelines, stating plainly that opioids were not the first-line therapies. The FDA, which is Food and Drug Administration, issued a new requirement that immediate release or fast-acting opioid must carry black box warning tablet. The FDA is also encouraging abuse-resistant formulation of generic opioids. Generics makes up 90% of the market, the FDA said. According to CDC recent report, tobacco prevention and control strategies, including increasing tobacco product prices, adopting comprehensive smoke-free laws, and implementing national public education media campaign, have influenced the reduction in youth cigarette smoking. Increase in marijuana use among US youth might be attributable to decreasing perception of harm from 1991 to 2013, from 78.6% to 39.5%. More specifically, decriminalization and legalization of recreational marijuana use in some states with minimal concomitant public health message to address potential detrimental health effects of marijuana use might be contributing to this perception. And the last thing I would like to just talk about the bullying study. It's a CNN study. It says a newly commissioned by CNN and Anderson Cooper 360 found that the stereotype of the schoolyard bully preying on the weak doesn't reflect reality in schools. Instead, the research shows that many students are involved in social combat, a constant verbal, physical, and cyber fight to the top of the school social hierarchy. Thank you.
I'd just like to add, Mr. Lumiere, certainly.
I'd just like to remind everybody that tomorrow there's a capital improvement here at Central Office at 10 o'clock. So the public is definitely invited to the capital improvement project, okay? Tomorrow, the meeting, 10 o'clock.
I just wanted to add that I also attended the senior luncheon at Van Wyck Junior High. It was wonderful what the students do and what a fine luncheon they put on for the senior citizens. And I understand that Mr. Rubin also discovered that afterwards they had a concert for them. I wasn't even aware of that, but it was apparently wonderful.
Oh, it was a concert that involved, is this on? Yes. It was a very, I thought the concert was very good. It was not just music, it was all types of music. There was singing, there was chorus, there was dancing. And I think the seniors who did stay for that thoroughly enjoyed it. It was like the dessert that they already had in the other place, but it was better.
I also attended the Italian Honor Society at Roy C. Ketchum, and the sixth grade play at Henry. The sixth grade play, I know they were thrilled to have board members come because, as they said, they're at the end of the district. But not forgotten, believe me. It was an excellent play, and the place was packed. In addition, I went to Earth Day at Vassar Road School. They had a number of community organizations that presented different activities for the children out on the playground. They had a beautiful day for it. The children learned a lot about the environment. That was open to kindergarten through third grade. And the open house at Brinkerhoff School, the work that is done on a daily basis by the classroom teachers and the art, music, and phys ed teachers in all our schools is amazing. And if you have an opportunity and you haven't been to any of the open houses, do drop in. But so many people come because families come, of course, that they often have to do it over 2 or 3 days to fit in all the cars in the parking lot. But it's a good experience. Right? Superintendents Report, Mr. Carrion. Were you getting it, Mrs. Pedro? We think that maybe it was off.
No.
It took them
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. I have a classroom voice. So.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education. Good evening, everyone. as I always say, I don't tend to ever actually just repeat all the activities that the fellow trustees have attended. So I would just want to first indicate that I did see our district clerk. I've received some of the forms to approve student attendance for being here tonight. So I just want to say that first and foremost, I'm happy to see that our seniors are here and that you're almost on your way to graduation. This is such a special time and scary time of your life, but it's really exciting. And just want to tell you to enjoy these last, I believe, 34 days of school that are left, and make it the best and keep it safe, and know that we'll be seeing you walking that stage real soon. So that makes us really proud. One thing that we should all be grateful for, always grateful for, is Mother's Day, that we'll be celebrating this Sunday as well. And let us not forget that although it's still considered very much a stigma in our society, that this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm sure that many of our schools will be taking that into consideration in terms of making sure that we continue to provide awareness and understand that this is something that affects many people in our society and in our world. With that said, I've concluded the Superintendent's Report. Thank you.
All right, does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 6.02 as amended, 6.03 as amended, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, 6.08, 6.09, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, 6.13, and 6.14.
Could we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mrs. Pelton, second. Mr. Lumia, all those in favor? Mr. Lumia, Mrs. Pelton, Mrs. Farad, Mr. Rubin, Mrs. Laval, Mr. Soma, Dr. Rizvi, and Mrs. Beckman. Seven, new business. 7.1.01, first reading of policies. 0100, 0100R, 0110, 0110R, 0110E, 0115, 0115R, 0115E, 1222, 1500, 1500R, 1500E, 1500E.1, 1500E.2, 1500E.3, 1740, 1741, 1900, 1900E, 1920, 1920R, 1920E.1, 1920E.2, 1925, 1925E.1, 1925E.2, 2000, 2000R, 2100, 2110, 2110R, 2120, 2120.2, 2121, 2150, 2160, 2210, 2220, 2230, 2250, 2260, 2270, 2310, 2320, 2330, 2340, 2341.1, 2342, 2350, 2351, 2352, 2360, 2382, 2390, 2410, 2420, 2510, 2520, 2521, 3000, 3100, 3120. Mrs. Pelton, would you like to say anything about the policies?
Can you hear?
I just want to take a moment to explain that there's three categories when you're comprising a policy manual. One of the components is your required policies. And required policies are policies that the board is explicitly required under state or federal law or regulation to adopt. There's no say in the wording, it's just required to adopt. There are notice policies, and those are concise summaries of statutory or regulatory responsibilities imposed on the board designed to ensure the board, the administration, staff, and students, and the public are aware of these responsibilities. Where members of the board have a say in policy is ones that include local policies. There are combinations of notice policies that include local policies. Required policies are standalone, and there are notice policies that are standalone. Many of the changes that are occurring in our current policy manual are updating them to comply with law. If there's specific questions on some of these, I've taken notes so that I can answer any of the questions as to why there's a change. There's also many policies in here that were listed. I don't know if it was a little bit of an oversight where there is no change, but that we were asked to pass the policy through the administration chain to create assurances that this was happening currently in our district. So I can certainly red flag any of those if anyone wants to know those. But the other changes were in condensing policies and combining them. Very few real changes were made other than complying with law or embarking on, I know our committee policy was changed, but any questions? But that's kind of the platform that's used. That's the methodology that was used is making our first priority to be compliant with law, as our current manual is not.
Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Rubin.
Mrs. Pedro, thank you. You answered many of my questions over this past week. Probably spoken with Mrs. Pelton, I don't know. But so thank you. Okay. And this obviously showed a lot of work. Ms. Pelton, I had one question. And for me, it's probably more just the way something is worded. But in regards to 2351, quorum.
I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
It is.
Why do we say fewer than 5? Why not just say fewer than a quorum?
The recommendation from NISBA is that you should state the exact number required for a quorum. We didn't feel this was a battling ground, but they felt that you should state the specific number. If there's consent.
Any other questions? Mrs. Laval?
You should get the phone. Somebody just pass the pain in the neck.
I have significant issues with so much of what's in here. I understand that we're saying that much of this is required by law. We're an independently elected body. We're having an election in 2 weeks to represent the concerns of the community. We haven't touched this policy in 5 or 6 years, and now we're just gonna rubber stamp what's coming down from the state without even discussing it. We've had 6 years to discuss this, and we haven't touched it, and now we're just gonna rubber stamp it. It fundamentally changes some of the most foundational, basic human concepts that we've held in our society for at least our entire lives, for the length of the society of this country, and it's being completely changed. We're sharing bathrooms. We're going to start responding to people's actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practices, disability, sex, sexual orientation, or gender, including gender identity, expression, or nonconformity to gender stereotypes. We're going to have a policy and a response to what somebody perceives themselves or somebody else to be. We have 129 pages on how we're going to do that. How do you do that? I have a significant concern with the fact that we're making lists of people that we're going to protect. Why do we need a list? What does that say about the people who aren't on the list? Everybody should be protected. We're creating victim classes and protected classes. Does that mean that if you're on the list, that you're not a bully, or you're not somehow oppressed, or you're not somehow being oppressive because you made it on the list? If you're not on the list, does that mean you automatically discriminate because you're not on the list of people who shouldn't be discriminated against? We're silently assuming that if you're not on a list of protected class, you're somehow the bully. It's not okay. Everybody belongs on the list. When my son was in the 4th grade, I was riding in the car with him, and I looked over at him. He had these beautiful, long, curled eyelashes, and he cut them off because he was being tormented at school. There's no mention on the list of kids who cut their eyelashes off to be protected from bullying or discrimination. I had a son right in front of me while I was doing lunch duty who fell over his own 2 feet with his lunch tray. The kid behind him stepped over him, walked back to the table, and had a good laugh with the rest of the kids at the table. I'm his mother, and I was right there. And there was nothing that I could do. Do you think a policy is going to fix that? That just needed to be a conversation with that kid. There's nothing in this 129 pages that's going to solve these things. We need to recognize that we're a community. and that's how these things get resolved. Instead, we're making these lists aside from the fact. We're turning human sexuality and gender on its head. We're going to celebrate Mother's Day. Are we concerned that might offend somebody? Somebody who thinks mothers don't matter? There's so many conversations that need to be had. There's so many implications. We say we're going to protect religious people and their value, people who espouse a certain religious ideology, and it completely conflicts with the concept of men and boys in the girls' bathroom. Who gets protected first? We refer to each other with formal terms of Mr. and Mrs. What if somebody doesn't believe in gender? Are we okay with people walking around and calling you Carry On? Hey Kellen? Hey Lumia? There's so much in here. There's so much confusion and potential for conflict. These policies don't resolve division. They create it, and they empower certain groups of people just because they belong to the group, whether they deserve it or not. I understand that much of this has been passed at the state level as law. But we went to Albany to lobby over money. Why have we waited 6 years to put a stamp on this and adopt it without considering the absolute chaos that can ensue from it, without going to Albany and saying, this isn't a good idea? We need to put a whole lot more thought and conversation into this. And we do. We do as a community, we do as a board, we do at the state legislature, the federal legislature. But for us to do nothing with so much that's in here for 6 years, put 129 pages of really potential just tremendous chaos, and then just vote to approve it, I can't do that.
Anyone else? Mrs. Karan.
Mrs. Laval, can you give specific examples, just because I've been part of the policy committee, if you were to go through, can you, it's my understanding that we need to have a document. So if there's specific instances where you feel that it's going to cause more harm, then good, then that's valid. But specific examples, if you were to go through the bullying and prevention and intervention section, and how the New York State School Board Association helped us flesh out what's real. If there are specific ways that they've referred to things, can you help us as a committee with some of that input, or where you feel specific examples of creating more chaos? That'd be good.
I would start off with the first page that says that we're going to respond to actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practices, disability, sex, sexual orientation, or gender, including gender identity, expression, or nonconformity to gender stereotypes. The next 20 pages talk about how we're going to incorporate this into the classroom, how we're going to incorporate it into the use of the restrooms, how we're going to appoint a dignity coordinator for every school to make sure that we implement what people think they are at any given time. How do we do that? It's a fundamental question. It's the underlying premise of the entire policy on discrimination and bullying. That's a fluid, constant moving target. And again, it pits certain ideologies against each other. We can't protect certain religious ideologies and social ideologies that diametrically oppose it. How are we going to do that?
I think is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that when they mention race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identification, religion, this covers all of us because we all have some race or ethnicity or gender or sexual identity or religion or lack of religion that we claim. And so this really covers everybody. I believe that it was last year that the court in New York State ruled about the transgender. 2014, thank you. Ruled about the transgender thing, so that's more recent than 6 years. Some of these policies we hadn't updated since 1994, so it was even longer. I would certainly hope that our schools, and I'm sure they are, would not encourage anyone to pick on children for anything, whether they have beautiful eyelashes, or anything. Children, this is something that is part of character development that our whole anti-bullying program works on to try to form children's character. It's an ongoing process, and it starts mainly in the home, but the school tries to teach children to respect everyone. And so certainly no group is being given favored treatment because all of us fall into some category, and we're all overlapping groups that at any time could be targeted. And I mean, they've done studies where they did just for experiments with children to show them what discrimination was like, and did something in the classroom where they picked on kids with blue eyes or who were short. And they found it was a terrible thing to do because the other kids picked up on it and they carried it on after the experiment in the classroom. So, this is something that is unfortunate and that we try to combat. I think more religions try, for the most part, try to combat this. And I think most of us in our homes combat this. But certainly there's no excuse for bullying for any reason, since we need to treat everybody as we would like to be treated, as the Golden Rule says. Did anyone?
So I just wanted to say here that policies are very important because I'm a geriatrician and I work for a nursing home. Even those places, they have a policies and procedure. So you have to follow the policies, and if we think that there is a problem with the policies, then you can go through each and every policy and then you just read and just say that, that there is some wording which you are not comfortable. But we can't go by saying that rejecting all the policies, right? These are not the good policies, or playing with the words or something. Because policies are something like I was also a part of this policy and we went through each and every policies. So these are not something like we reviewed the policy. And if you think that there is a problem in the policy, then just let us know. Like we ask that, if you have to elaborate, like what are the problems in the wording or what correction you want. But policies are important. And I think that, this is something like, we all reviewed together, and I'm satisfied with those policies, but you can let us know.
Mr. Rubin.
Thank you. Mrs. Kelly, Mrs. Pelton, you would say that these policies as presented are compliant with state law?
Absolutely.
And we're all sworn to uphold the state laws as well as federal. Thank you.
Mrs. Lavon.
There is nothing that prohibits this board from lobbying for New York State if we have concerns about what this policy says and the situations that it puts our children in. The adults who are dealing with these concepts,
It's created tremendous friction across this country on so many levels. And now we're going to put it into our kindergarten classrooms. This is chaos. The concept of gender neutrality is diametrically opposed to the concept that gender has purpose. Gender has purpose in the very existence and continuance of our species. I was called a bigot just the other day from someone in this community because I said that it's important that children know who their mother is and that we cherish that bond as a society. And I was called a bigot. We're going to have this conversation with our 5-year-olds, and they're going to call each other bigots. We can't adopt both those concepts as a society. They oppose each other. Should we be kind to each other? Absolutely. Should we accept that we all have different ideologies and concepts? Certainly. But there are certain concepts as a society we need to stand on firm ground. There are literally people who are advancing and arguing these types of ideologies who want to change our vocabulary and eliminate gender reference in all of our language. There are people who really want to do that. I don't want to do that. I hope this board doesn't want to do that. But we're opening the door to doing that by rubber stamping these policies because the state said we should. Are we going to protect our children and give them the solid ground in their human identity? Or aren't we? The fact that New York State said that this was okay means so much less to me than the idea that someone's going to tell a 5-year-old child that it doesn't matter if they have a mother or a father. We have to have these conversations. We have to understand the implications of these policies. Should we have policies? Yes. They should be fairly limited because we should acknowledge that we're adults and we need to come together and we need to care for our children and we need to resolve the differences that they have. We're not fixing anything by just piling up the paper. We need to remember that we're human beings and we need to interact with each other, and putting it on paper isn't fixing it. And certainly putting it on paper in such a way that we're adopting the most conflicting of fundamental human concepts, that's why there's so much paper here. Because when you start to do that, you just have to keep going. When you call black and white, you're done. When you start calling it gray, you have a whole spectrum of shades that you need to deal with. And that's what's happening here. I have a problem with us just stamping something that has so much just broad implications for everybody across this community, across this country. We can do this here in our community, and if everybody does it in their community, then we can change it at the state level or the federal level where it needs to change. And I'm not talking about any specific item. I'm talking about the basic fundamentals that children have a mother and a father, that you can't protect somebody who believes that and somebody who believes that gender is fluid, they oppose each other. They just don't work. We have to consider that. We have to consider the implications of that. And adopting a policy that says we're going to protect both, when they come together in a classroom or a bathroom or a hallway or a ball field, who's going to make the call? Who's going to say, you're the one who gets to be offended? You're the one who gets to be protected? This is like stamping a big piece of paper that says anything goes. There's no point to it.
Mr. Lumi.
Last year, did the board vote, I think everybody can hear me. The last year, did we vote to appropriate so much money so that our policy manual was consistent with state? Are these things mandated by the state? Regardless of what people think, some of these are mandated by the state. Suppose we don't get a policy, we reject that policy, what's going to happen to the district for not following state mandates?
Mr. Carrion?
Yeah, would you like to
Yeah,
tell?
I mean, I don't know if he knows the answer to that.
What's the
It
legal
just-
answer?
I don't think he knows the legal answer. It seems to me,
I'm not a lawyer.
you know, look,
But, no, I don't have the answer concretely.
and I don't
The
think we should.
question you asked was, what's going to happen to
Look,
us?
right now we
I-
have the federal, I think it's a federal law that mandates that gender people can claim whatever they are. All right? Could be a boy could say I'm a girl, can go to the girls' bathroom. Do we have any control on that at all?
In terms,
In terms of a man going to a girls' bathroom, do we have any control of that? If the federal government says that we
well,
have
had a
to,
workshop on that.
I'm sorry?
We had a workshop on
I'm
that
aware of it.
before
I just want to
retreats.
know what was the result of that workshop?
That we don't,
You cannot discriminate, correct?
yes.
So it seems to me we're arguing philosophy and morality, and we cannot, as a board, dictate those things. You can't dictate morality the way we feel about things personally. We have to look at how other people feel, and if other people are different than your philosophy or my philosophy, too bad. We have to follow we have to follow laws, and if the law says, which I don't agree, if the law says that people can, a man or a woman could go to other, if they claim that's who they are, I don't like it, but that's a law. And if we fight that law, we can fight that law by going to the state and say, look, we don't like what you guys are doing. Change the law. But as a board, I don't think we can do that. It's about time we realize this. We can talk about morality from here to eternity. It's not. We can't dictate that. Our job as a Board of Education is to educate students. That's our main responsibility, and not to teach morality.
And we can talk an hour on this, but you know, the policy, that's why we make a policy, that we are complying with the policy, and that's why we have to have this.
And one last thing. Look, we looked at these policies, and in the past, when I was chairman of the policy, I'm glad I'm no longer that you guys are doing a great job. A great job. And these policies, the discussion on reviewing the manual has been ongoing since I've been on the board. And last year, we finally, as a board, decided to appropriate people so to be consistent with the state laws and everything else. It's not that we're trying to shove things down at the last minute before the election. That's absolutely not. I'm sorry, that's absolutely nonsense. Nobody's trying to shove anybody. But I think it's important for everyone in this particular room, if we have any particular argument about a specific policy, we could ask the policy committee to look at it, to review it, so when they bring it to the board, all the changes can be made and adopted. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
Mrs. Duran?
We're elected. If all we're here to do is put the stamp on what the state sends down, then there doesn't need to be 9 of us here. We can oppose this type of legislation if we believe it's a problem for our community. Can we totally disregard state law? No. we're not even willing to have this conversation. We're not even willing to talk about going up to Albany and saying, this is gonna cause confusion for us. We're gonna have difficulty. No, we're just gonna take what they gave us and we're gonna run it off of a Xerox machine and we're gonna approve it? No, what are we doing?
We can have this conversation as we're having
we're
right
not
now.
having
We're
this
having this
conversation.
conversation.
We've
You're already
never had
expressing
this
your opinion. I'm sorry for
conversation.
saying that. You express your opinion, I express my opinion. That to me is a conversation. Now, if we agree that the policy is bad, then maybe you, me, and the rest of the board should vote to go to Albany and talk to the legislator to be against it. But in the meantime, we as a board have to follow that particular policy. If it's determined that it's required, we have to do it. I might not like it, but we have to do it. Okay, to me that's. I mean, if you feel so, if anybody in this board feels that particular legislation you talked about is so bad, let's form a committee and go to Albany as legislators and approach our legislators. And that to me is the only rational thing to do. I'm sorry, guys.
Mrs. Pelton.
To add on to that, again, we're sworn to uphold the law. I think it is critical to have a policy manual that complies with law. One of the things that's nice about getting through this is it creates this, our committee policies are very clear and concise in here on creating new policies. And that would be a place where that could properly be addressed. But in a session when we're trying to have a policy manual that complies with law, it's a philosophical discussion isn't there. It would be to look at the new policies on creating the committee. It makes a very good ease of use the way it is now written, and to work with the board to perhaps see if there is if there's in favor of creating such a committee. But the philosophical conversation and what's required by the board are two different elements. Yes, there's ways to try to change things if you're unhappy with, and if you can gain consensus, there's ways to do it, but not establishing a working policy is in my opinion, not the best way to get things done.
Mrs. Lamont.
When would be the time to have the philosophical conversation? Because we haven't had it. We haven't had, and I'm not. That was a rhetorical question. We should be having the philosophical discussion while we're looking at these and realizing that they're going to create chaos for our community. Also, we have a government process that allows you to challenge laws that you think are inappropriate. And we can do that. And I think we need to discuss as a board, and I think that we need to do that. I think we need to challenge, and that is a philosophical discussion. You know, they're not separate things. The law is a product of the philosophical discussion. And if it's inappropriate, then a philosophical discussion of what's inappropriate about it and what practical steps can and should be taken to address the fact that it's inappropriate is all part of this process. And we need to engage in it, in my opinion.
It's not appropriate not to comply with law. There are ways to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, but I don't believe it is appropriate as a board member to not comply with law.
Mrs. Lamont.
Do you believe it's appropriate as a member of the
Turn the mic on, I can't hear you.
Do you believe it's appropriate as a member of the policy committee, as the chair of the policy committee, to engage in the philosophical discussion, or just implement it as it came down from the state? Why are we elected? Why is there any discussion? We don't need to discuss and vote on this if all we need to do is implement it. But we're here, we're elected. The philosophical discussion is appropriate, and it is appropriate while we're going through the policy manual. So if you feel that in spite of the philosophical discussion, you still need to approve this, so be it. But they shouldn't be separate, they can't be separate, and they should be taking place while this is being developed, in my opinion.
Members of the public should not be calling out during the meeting. Thank you.
If
Mrs.
there-
Carell?
Oh, sorry.
Everyone on the board has an opportunity to attend each other's committee meetings, and this is not being offered as a criticism, but if you felt strongly, we've met several times on these policies. We've asked NISBA, we all voted to have NISBA take a look at this document. They have taken a look at the document. For the members of the public, 0-100 is equal opportunity and non-discrimination. They took what we have been, you know, you and I just got on the board, so what this board has been working with, they took and they added parts such as a finding that an individual has engaged in conduct in violation of this policy may result in disciplinary action and or filing of a report with third parties in a manner prescribed by the District Code of Conduct, the law, or applicable contract. When I read what they've added, I don't see it causing, I respect your opinion, and it is your opinion that you feel that a lot of this could create more chaos. I don't feel that the additions that they made create more chaos, nor do they create an opportunity for people to be worse to each other. I think what they did was they pretty much pinned down what the policy should say, what we're going to do with it, what happens after someone does something or some child does something to another child. It sets a framework that we need to operate on, and the district and its administration need to operate on. So, yes, we should have philosophical discussions. We should have that at a committee level, is my opinion. And when we get to this is a procedure where we have to bring it to the board, these changes. And, you know, we have to approve the changes. But a lot of the hashing out and the philosophical discussions where we can speak freely, as you've spoken freely just now, really should take place in the committee meeting.
Mrs. Lavelle.
I apologize for not being available to be at the committee meetings. I'm to other committees, and there's just a lot going on here. This is a big district. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I regret not being able to be at the committee meeting, but I do think that this is something that you know, it's appropriate for discussion in the public session of the board meeting. With regard to this policy being more concise or more, I'm sorry, I don't know the words used, Mrs. Correct, but they added the word perceived to the concepts of race and gender and ethnicity and weight and national origin. That, in my opinion, does the opposite of giving structure to the policy. It kind of unleashes the policy. It gives the district anything but direction, because it makes it entirely subjective on behalf of the person and their personal perception of themselves. I think it puts us in a pretty tough spot. I think it's going to be very, very hard to know how to respond to these situations when we're dealing with anybody's perception of what is otherwise a pretty plain, physical, tangible reality.
The perceived part is to tell people, is to say to students, whatever you might think of me or someone else, whatever you perceive me to be as a color, you still can't discriminate against me. So when they say or perceived, they're saying, you know, whatever your particular perception is, personally, what you in your mind have come up and drawn a conclusion on, that still doesn't make it right. I think we're
It's not-
saying the
it's
same
not-
thing, but you can't discriminate even based
It's
on your
not perceived.
perception.
It's not perceived discrimination.
No,
It's
they
what
cannot
the
discriminate
individual
based on
perceives
their,
themselves to
they
be.
cannot
So if
discriminate
somebody-
based on their perception of who you are. I
No,
cannot,
on my perception of who I am.
No,
If I-
it-
No, that's not what it means.
well, we'll agree to disagree on that.
You wanna say something? Let's go,
Is there anything, any new points that someone would like to raise about the policies?
Can I?
Mr. Carrion?
Yeah, I like the philosophical conversation that's taking place. I think, to just, with all due respect, speaking responsibly, I think speaking of pronouns, that the appropriate pronoun is I when a philosophical conversation is taking place. And what the board wants to do is based on then the we, based on realistically talking about law, what the vote is. And that vote determines what it is that the philosophy and the views and the values that we have as a district, how it's determined. But overall, that, and just really thinking back, that thinking about the conversations about what we need to do is based on the fact that what is it that we want to do? Because once the need is based on the policy aspect and the want is based on, yes, well, these are the things that by law we have to do, but these are the things that we may not believe in or we do believe in, and that's determined by a board. So the I is a very important conversation to have, but respectfully speaking, to have that I conversation determines what the board is going to determine as do we. Just wanted to bring that out in terms of what philosophically this board and this district stands for. Because it's important for our community to understand that too. For people to say, yes, I want to come to Wappingers, or no, I don't want to come to Wappingers. And that's a very important aspect that we do have our core values in our mission statement. And if that's going to change, we need to know.
I'd just like to say that these categories are not always black and white. There are many grays. For instance, in the same family, full brothers and sisters, one can be perceived as black and the other as white just because of the particular way the genes fell with them and their skin tone. And over time, in different cultures, black and white has been perceived differently. As a matter of fact, in 1750, Benjamin Franklin referred to the German immigrants to Pennsylvania as non-white. So, you know, I guess it all depends on how you may see things. And recent medical and biological studies have shown that not everybody really falls either male or female. There are all sorts of different situations with chromosomes, with hormonal influences that make them fall into other categories. And in some cases, they start off looking like one sex and change to the other. And this is actual, physiological fact that something that happens. So I think we have to be, when we say perceive, sometimes there is a perception and it may not be reality, but to what some people may feel, but it may be the reality for certain people. So I think, that they're trying to cover all aspects, and kindness and courtesy and consideration of others is always fundamental. And it's, if we were all better people, they wouldn't have to list all these things because everybody would treat everybody, decently and with respect. But that's the way it is, and the courts in New York have decided that this is what we have to do. Is there anything else anyone would like to say at this time on the policy? All right. Okay, this was the first reading. The second reading is the time we vote. Right? 7.02, approval of capital project budget. Evans Roof.
Whereas the district appropriated $640,000 in its 2015-2016 school budget for capital construction projects, which was approved by the Board of Education on January 25, 2016. Whereas bids for this work were advertised on February 26, 2016, received and publicly opened on March 29, 2016. Whereas budgets for this project that have now been estimated by the district's engineer and construction manager working with various district representatives, therefore now be it resolved that upon recommendation of the Executive Director for Finance and Business Development to the Superintendent of Schools, this project be authorized as estimated and recommended by the district engineer and as contained herein. Evans Roof Replacement Project number 1321006000003-024, the account number and description H1621.293-0003024, General Construction Fund, $560,000. H1621.245-0003024, architect fees, $50,000. H1621.201-0003024, clerk of the works, $15,000. H1621.240-0003024, general administration, $15,000. Total, $640,000.
Do we have a motion? Mrs. Karat, second. Mr. Rubin, discussion?
I have a
Mr.
question,
Lemon.
just a quick question. Is Mr. Bros here?
He's not, but I.
Oh, I'm back in. What's it, the clerk of the works, exactly,
That's-
what is his responsibilities?
The clerk of the works, it's not, when you hear clerk of the works, you think of someone who's overseeing the whole project.
Yeah.
We have partial time set up with the architectural firm to be on site every day.
When they're charging us $50,000, aren't they? So why are they charging us an additional $15,000?
Because it's not architectural fees, it's for clerk of the works. So because we don't have a full-time clerk of the works that's there all the time, and Mr. Bros makes up the remainder of that time, we do have somebody on site when the work is progressing for that time period. And it's up to $15,000. It's not, we don't have somebody doing it 100% of the time. We have the architectural firm.
Just one quick question. Can Mr. Gross, Mr. Broas,
Yes.
accomplish that particular task on
Not
his
by
own?
himself
Case
and
closed,
be
okay,
the
cool.
and be the director,
Fine.
no.
Any other questions, discussion?
You asked that question. After you see what Mr. Russ.
All those in favor? Mr. Lumia, Mrs. Pelton, Mrs. Karat, Mr. Rubin, Mrs. Laval, Mr. Soma, Dr. Risby, Mrs. Calland. 7.03, approval of board president to attend meetings.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District does hereby approve the board president to attend preliminary discussions and/or information gathering sessions related to the school district at the request of the superintendent of schools. And be it further resolved that the superintendent or the board president will report back to the board on any information received at such sessions.
Motion, Mr. Lumia, second. Mrs. Karat. Discussion. Mr. Rubin.
I'm not sure the right way, Mr. Pedro, to do this. I'd like to make a motion that this be tabled for further discussion.
I second that motion.
Moved by Mr. Rubin, seconded by Mr. Lumia. All those since tabling does not have discussion, all those in favor of tabling? Okay, Mr. Lumia, Mrs. Pelton, Mrs. Caraff, Mr. Rubin, Mrs. Laval, Mr. Soma, Dr. Risby, Mrs. Keller. Table. Okay. 8.01. Board members may request additional agenda items, discussion items, or requests for information. Are there any requests? 9.01, comments from the public. Again, we follow the same rules as we did before, except this time you may speak on any issue that relates to the school district's business. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Galetta. I have 2 sons that attend school in the district. Board President, I understand there's a feeling not to use board members' names from public comments, so I'm going to direct my comments to the Policy Committee Chair and just let her know that the people I talked with spoke very highly of the job that was done and the work that was put in on that committee, and I just want to let you know that and thank you for that. And I don't know what compels some people or makes them think it's okay to yell out during a Board of Education meeting, but I would just like to thank the Board President for reminding people that that's not appropriate behavior.
Anyone else?
Come here, I'll tell you why. Let's step outside. I'll tell you.
Excuse me.
No, I want to tell them why I spoke.
Hi, just want to remind everybody, today was Teacher Appreciation Day, and not one person mentioned it. I think we need to thank our teachers.
We're ignorant, so congratulations.
Well, I know this. I mean, I really think, it is not. I waited, I was waiting.
I know, but I did.
So I think this board should really have an outward thank you to the teachers and the obscene amount of work that they do. Because they are caught in crosshairs, crossfires, and really deserve a lot more recognition. And I want to thank each and every one of them for all that they're doing. Because they do a lot. I'll get to it. Just a couple comments based on the little conversation that took place. Currently, there's a policy that's being violated every month for several months. We don't have a full seating here every month. And that's been brought to the attention. It's also been ignored, not addressed. And I think this community needs some kind of conversation about it, an apology, if you will, for not having a full and complete board. I'll use the names, but it's never been addressed. And it's been a very, very, very hot topic for quite a couple of months. And again, it's just never been addressed to the public. There's been no apology to the public. And I think this board needs to step up and apologize for that. With regards to policy, because somebody tells you that something is law does not make it legal. And I really encourage you to give that some very strong thought. And just because the state is telling you that you need to comply does not make it legal. Please give that a lot of consideration. I do want to thank the tone that the conversation took with specific to community and what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. I think that is a very, very pivotal factor, and it needs to be considered. Is it philosophical? I don't know where the word came in, other than somebody came up with it as a means to get off the topic of not discussing it. It's not all about being philosophical, it's about being real. When you start micromanaging, you start having problems. You're starting to micromanage. And I can tell you that there's 4 incidents going on right now that if you were to move forward with this policy, hello lawyer, and they could walk right in. I'm telling you, you really need to consider this. Not sweep it under the carpet, not have the discussion just because of intelligence law. It does not make it legal. Thank you, and thanks to the teachers again.
My
Barbara Goodman, and I am a teacher in another district, and I live here. And I was listening to the discussion about the policy and thinking about the gay students that I've had, and the transgender students that I've had, the boys that come in that don't want to be boys. It's very clear they don't want to be boys. They are wearing makeup, they are wearing dresses. And about 10%, what I want to talk about is the policy on a human level. Because those boys were, quite frankly, some of the most wonderful human beings I've ever had in my classroom. They don't conform to what we consider normal gender. We need to respect all varieties. And it concerns me that the discussion of this policy, I would say about 10% of the high school doesn't feel welcome. Nobody says that anybody who feels uncomfortable with the unusual shouldn't be tolerated. That's not what the policy says at all. It's not a zero-sum game that only the people listed should be accepted. Everybody should be accepted. And including your son. The reason that the categories are listed is not only the law, but simple human nature, which is to pick on a minority. And the only way that we are going to make people in a minority feel welcome is, and this is the philosophy, this is not the practicality of needing to obey the law. The only way we are going to make minorities feel welcome is we make sure that we spell out that we want to protect them as well as the majority. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Before we finish, I'd like to appreciate the comment that we didn't acknowledge Teacher Appreciation Day. I think that's terrible. I went to the retired teacher luncheon this morning, and it never came up, and I'm sorry that we overlooked that.
Just go on our website too. We have to appreciate it. And you
Shame.
can foil this.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did go.
What a faculty.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, I apologize. All right, and we certainly do appreciate our teachers and all the people who work in our schools. Do we have a motion for adjournment? Mrs. Pelton, second. Mr. Lumia, all in favor?